Hello YouTube, Jamie here from FM Scout. In today's video, I'm going to talk about finding regens on Football Manager 2020. We tend to do this once a year, just in case anything changes in the world of Football Manager. And of course, let's get right into it. So, I've got a few things to tell you before I start. So, the main thing is how you set your game up. I can't stress this enough. If you aren't finding the regens from Egypt, them type of places, and stuff like this, I get lots of comments saying I can't find this player, I can't find this player. It all depends on exactly how you set your game up. Now, I've got database options for myself, but again, it all based on your computer. If your computer can't run so many leagues and stuff like that, I'll show you exactly what I use before we start, and this will help you find more and more regens in the world of Football Manager 2020. Now, of course, if you just naturally, this is what it will look like when you first set a save up. It'll probably be on a small database with a few leagues loaded. Now, you're still going to find regens, don't get me wrong, but you aren't going to find as many as you normally would if you had a bigger database. So, in terms of database, I mean, you can press large, which, again, isn't much difference between small and large. I mean, as you can see, 34 and 40. Some people think that this is the highest database you can have when they're actually wrong. If you click advanced, you can then put your continents and stuff in. So if you want to have a lot of African regens, you would put Africa in the continents and stuff like that. But I'll show you exactly how I set mine up. It is available on the Steam Workshop, so just search it on the Steam Workshop. If I go to load, and then if I go to FM Scout database option, this is how I set all my games up. Now, I don't go off the estimated game speed because it's nonsense. It's always been half a star, and I've got a very good computer. But obviously you can take some out if you want, but we'll go back into that now and show you exactly what I've got set up. So you can see I've got every continent loaded, and I've got every single player loaded on the game. You can't get much higher than this. So, example, if you don't want to find Asian players, or if you don't want to find Oceania players, you can remove that and lower it down. But yeah, let's get right into the regen hunting. Okay, the first tip I want to give you is in your responsibilities. So come to your little tab on the responsibilities just here, and you can see this is where you get your information regarding scouting. Now, this isn't going to be about assignments. I will do a video on assignments very shortly and the best way to set up your assignments for the entire season with some examples of players coming through. But if we look at this, so this one says when you scout a player, add him to your shortlist. So this is at the minute is saying don't shortlist. Personally, any player that you scout should be kept in a shortlist. So I would add that indefinitely. So that is one thing that I would definitely suggest doing. In terms of when you scout a player, you can... So as you know, when you scout a player, it takes a little while to come through, which is based on this screen. So you can do it for one match, or you can do it for 2 matches. Of course, I like to keep it about 1 or 2 weeks, depending. I mean, it depends if you use attribute masking, I guess. If you don't, then I usually set it at a week. If I do use attribute masking, it's usually about a month before I fully scout them. But yeah, that's the first little tip. So we're going to go and actually look for some regens now. So I've just simmed forward on my Farsley save, retired as Farsley, and come into Manchester City for the time being. So what you want to do, it's best to have kind of a notepad or Word document or something where you can track, because it has slightly changed for FM20, which we'll go through now. If we go to the transfer button up here, the world button up here, go to world and then go to transfers. So this is slightly changed because before it was like your months and stuff like that, but all you need to do is press this transfers little tab down here and go to youth intake. Now, of course, we're only in October on season 1, and there's no kind of set intake dates now. That's one thing I should mention. Last year, there was a set date for each and every nation when they would have their intakes. This year, it's a bit more dynamic, and it changes around, so it's much harder. Now, we all know that's like kind of stealing regens from other clubs is really, really difficult to do now, and you don't really rely on it too much, but this is more about finding them regens at a club you wouldn't expect and putting the money in, because some of these will be very cheap. You just have to scout them. Now, if you're a small club, I wouldn't recommend scouting, because scouting just means that it's going to cost you money. If you're sending your scouts around the world, it's going to cost you money. So make sure you're financially stable before you start doing this. Of course, there's another tip which I'm going to show you. So you can see right here, in 2019 so far, we can filter it by date. So the first intake to come through was actually the 22nd of September. So this is what I'm saying about a notepad of some sort. You can track the dates and then do this once a month. So if, for example, you've done these, so you can see a lot of these, I think, are the African ones which has come through. I'm just trying to see if I recognize any of the names. If there's any actually Big teams in here. So it looks like South Korea, Zimbabwe. Sorry, actually, not South Korea. There we go. So you've got your South Korea clubs coming through now and stuff like that. So let's have a quick look. That's Japan, actually. No, my bad. But there's quite a lot you can see with the scroll bar. There's a hell of a lot of players. Probably too many to scout in one go. It looks like there's a mixture of kind of African and Asian that's coming through. But what we're going to do, we're going to show you something, see if we can do it. So all we're going to do from the off is we're going to actually put all of these in a shortlist. So you can only do 500 at a time, bear that in mind. So you can't do 792 unless that's changed. There you go now. So you can only do 500. So we're just going to add a few. Just need to get down to 500. Let's start again. So if we go, let's go down to here. So add to shortlist. Of course, if you was going to scout 374 players, it's going to take a long time. But I'm going to show you because, of course, when you do it for places like England, Portugal, Spain, you know, the players from Barcelona ain't going to join you, ain't going to be interested. So there's a way to stop wasting your time and sending your scouts out, which I'll show you how to do now. But let's just add these to a shortlist, and then let's go to the next one. We're going to try and add all of them, actually, so we can give you a really good example at 709. It's very hard to judge how many you've got loaded. That's the problem when you do this. So 438, add to shortlist indefinitely. Go down a few more. Go down to here. So 207, add to shortlist. Go down to here. 206, add to shortlist. Of course, if you're doing this once a month, you know, it kind of becomes easier and you don't have so many to do. Of course, there's always going to be regens, but you don't have all of these to do at once. So that's what I'm saying with the notepad. It is really good to keep track of this, because you will find a hell of a lot of players like this. Trust me, it will really surprise you the amount of good players you find. But let's just keep adding them. I want to try and add all of them if we can. So I'll be back in a second once I've added all of them, and we'll go straight into the shortlist. Okay, so we've added these to a shortlist now. As you can see, all of them have been added. If we go to your player search tab and then go into shortlist, so you can of course make a new shortlist, and you know you can change between them if you wish. This at the minute is in the default one, so you can keep these in the shortlist going forward entirely, and start taking them out and start tracking them from there. So if we go to interested in transfer, so you can see at the minute there is 7,081 players, which is a lot of players, by the way, for this stage. There's some Paraguay and stuff like that. Of course, Paraguay are known to bring a lot of players through. This is sort of by value at the moment. So you can see the highest valued players in that kind of pool of 7,000 players is 300k. And at 16, 300k is something that you would look at, right? That is an extremely high value for that price. Of course, to make it a little bit easier, because to scout 7,000 players is going to be a bit of a ball ache. So if we press transfer, so you can see right now we've gone down from 7,000 to 6,000. Not a massive jump, but a lot of these teams that we've just seen aren't the best teams in the world. If you kind of know, you know, Egypt, Spain, if you know the nations that you're looking for, you wouldn't necessarily, so if we go down to the bottom, you wouldn't necessarily go for players in the Thai division, for example. So you can pick and choose which you go for, but you know, it's always good to have all of them in. I mean, these players you of course wouldn't look at. They don't look great. You can scout them if you want and stuff like that, but they don't look amazing. Of course, most of the regions that come through won't be valued at 0 who's going to be world class. So if we go to the top, let's have a look at Luis Gonzalez, one of the players at 300k who was interested. Bear in mind the other one who was 300k was not interested. Well, this one at 300k at Olympia is interested in advanced swords. So Luis Gonzalez. Now, he looks very good. Of course, this is where you would obviously go and scout him. We are going to drop a scout report on this guy right now, just so we can see what his potential is based on this kind of experiment of shortlisting. And that is a very easy way to find the regens. Of course, you can go down. Bear in mind that, you know, I would scout most of them after you put them in the shortlist, because there is going to be a really good player who's valued at 60k, for example. And there is some Brazilians that's come through as well. So we're just going to get some scout reports in. I think you can only do 50 at once. No, that's fine. So we're going to get a scout report on all these top ones and see what they come back with. But of course, there is also other things that you can do in this shortlist. You can do a new search, and you can filter them by position this way. So you can filter them by value, you can filter them by position, and you can also filter them by attributes. So people like to look for determination, for example. if we was to look for determination of anyone who's got 20, is there any players who's got 20 determination in this pool? There is 5 players who has got 20 determination, which is something that you should look at. There's a guy at 16k, Roger. You can see it looks very good. Only valid at 16k, but again, at 16, it looks very, very strong. So I'm just going to pop a quick scout report on this guy. You can see Paulo Cesar at Gremio. Again, it looks very, very strong. So if you're looking for the determination, that is a very, very good way of doing it. And there's a guy there at Arts of Oak, which, you know, you wouldn't really expect. So this is a really good way of finding some players. Get some scout reports on these players. And yeah, we're just going to get some scout reports in now. So we've got some scout reports in now of the players, and it turns out the player that was valued at 300k isn't that good in terms of his scout report. But again, this is just kind of an overview. He's 3-star potential. You know, it's going to be worth a decent amount. Bear in mind, this is based on the Manchester City team. But again, we've got a good player here called Alisson, actually, at Gremio. The right winger, 74k, would be a good signing, apparently. And that is how we've just found it. He's got 4.5-star potential. So, example of a brilliant way to find some players. Only valued at 74k. I mean, I'm not sure how much they'd want for him. 18 million, okay. But again, this is about finding players in nations you wouldn't really look for. This has been the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.